Hi, this is Tyler Kettle, and this is a reading of Canada versus USA. I have a story about a fictional war between Canada and the US. The humor is a little crude, and this is obviously a thing on political. Yeah, and I'll just get to it. I typed out an article on the latest luncheon between the various branches of the Canadian military while listening to lo-fi from my headphones and sitting in my worse than IKEA desk. I call it that because, well, it's so riddled with cracks and dents that it has to be. It also had to exist before IKEA. Speaking of luncheon, steak was served with a side of potatoes and a cheesecake for dessert. Only the very best for the colonels and the admirals, while I try to forget about the runny scrambled eggs I had that morning. For the past hour or so, my hands have moved over the keyboard, numbly typing out words. I don't feel anything for what I am writing, because I can't help but think, who the fuck cares about this luncheon? And why are they eating steak in wartime and making me publish a story about it? But I shouldn't put that into our article. Correction, I can't put that into the article. The patriotic press, i.e., myself, Andy, Frankie, get enough warnings in court martials. Like that time Frankie referred to Colonel Jackson as a man with small dick syndrome due to the picture of his lifted truck in his office. That was a bad one. Frankie had to spend a few days in jail for that one, only to get out, write it again, and go back in. Thankfully, he stopped after that. Coming fed up with this dumb pace of writing, I look away from my computer and stare around the box-like room with no windows. We used to have our office in one of the more modern buildings of the center base, with windows and good coffee. Things were good. Then Andy got into his dispute with Colonel Rogers because Andy kept not saluting him or wearing his proper uniform. So he got thrown in jail for that. In retaliation, Andy drew a picture of Rogers getting his nutsack licked by a tentacle monster, something he referred to as a hentai special, as he handed it out to everyone on the base. Now we're in the basement of one of the most run-down buildings on the base. There's a hole in the roof and half the bathrooms don't work. And speaking of the basement, it's okay. We made it seem at least a little livable. There's an aging TV in the corner, one of those ones you used to hook your Xbox up to. We covered the holes in the walls with posters of This Is Fine meme and different kinds of movies like Donnie Darko, Star Wars, Iron Man. Within the mix of mismatched artwork, there are images of Lou Reed and Hunter S. Thompson, Frankie's contribution. The whole room is kind of like if you smashed together a male teenager's bedroom with an older, more mature adult. There's a long crack in the ceiling, and none of us are sure it's getting longer or staying the same. Best not to think about it too much. If my headphone's still on and glance at my coworkers and friends, Andy and Frankie. Andy is our artist and a very good one. But I don't think he knows what a filter is, or if he ever had one. Today he's dressed in a Metallica t-shirt and long army pants. At least he's somewhat close to a proper uniform. Better than most days. I shudder when I think about summer days when he shows up in short shorts and a crop top. He's talking to Frankie about something as he eats Pop Tarts. Andy is not known for his great health. I don't think I've ever seen him eat a vegetable or go for a run. Still, he is quite slim, even though he treats his body like a dump. I wonder sometimes how he got through basic training. Frankie nods along, dressed in a flowery button-up shirt, a pair of yellow sunglasses hanging from the collar, and a wide-brimmed hat. Looks like Hunter S. Thompson. Makes sense because he worships the guy. Frankie is the opposite of Andy. Keen on vegetables and working out, typically be seen running around the base and spends hours at the gym. Thus, his body reflects that with thick veins running down his arm, and bulging muscles. He also can run 2 marathons in a row without needing a break. I can see some redness is entering Andy's face. He's about to enter his shouting mode. What a formative and insightful conversation will this be? Take off my headphones. Why does she put a smiling face at the end of her email? Andy stabs a finger at his computer screen. Lines of text can be seen there. I don't know. What was it about again? Andy leans back in his seat and glances at me as if to say, Step in, man. Do something. She wants to meet with me and talk about art. I told you this. Andy steps away from his desk and walks over to Frankie. His pop tart is still in his hands. And clearly, she doesn't want to talk about art. Obviously, she wants to date me. Andy gestures to himself, and who takes a few bites from his pop tart, dropping crumbs onto the floor, wouldn't want to date me. Wait, hold on. Are you sure this is a date? She might actually want to talk about art, he says. But look, Andy races back to his desk and points at the screen. See? She put a smiley face at the end of the email. Andy, that might not mean anything. She could just put it there out of habit. And he looks away towards his computer. No, no, no. She did that on purpose. She wants to mess with me. Well, she wants to mess around. I'll send her two smiley faces back. No, I'll send her five. No, I'll send her a whole paragraph of smiley faces. Yes, we'll see how she likes it. This is it, gentlemen. This is what resistance looks like. Andy rapidly types out smiley faces at his computer. Pete, give me a hand here, Frankie says to me. Sure. I rise and go over to Andy's computer as his fingers rest over send. Hey, Andy, how about you don't send that email? I stopped a few feet away from him, readying myself for what I know would be more chaotic energy. Not send it? Did you hear me talking about resistance? I'm not just doing this for us. I'm doing this for all of them. Andy holds his finger over the send button. Yeah, but, buddy, how do you think she'll respond to that? Place my hand on his shoulder with, well, I don't know. And he takes his hand away from the keyboard. How about you just tell her that you'll meet her for coffee? Take my hand away from the shoulder. Yeah, that's a good idea. And he types out an actual response. And I can see that it looks normal. It makes sense. And don't be yourself, Frankie says from his desk. No, no, you should. I take a moment, reminding myself that this is Andy. Take Frankie's advice. I mention as I start to head back to my desk. Thanks, guys. Andy continues typing. As I sit back down, Frankie turns on TV and President Trump appears on TV. Thick orange spray lotion covers his face. Yet it does little to cover up the emerging liver spots on his face. Stands at a podium with an American flag and a row of eagle soldiers behind it. Still odd to see these genetically modified eagles, made to be the same size or bigger than regular humans. They still have brown feathers and retain the head of an eagle. So bizarre. The obvious idea RFK Jr.'s make America healthy again lab. Most of the soldiers I talk to say they can barely follow orders and need to be guided by other human soldiers. I come here today to tell you that our war with those maple syrup loving woke losers up in that disgusting place called Canada is going so well. So tremendously well that we will own Canada in just a few short months. Soon the Canadians will know freedom like they have never known. Trump moves his small hands in the air, and I can see that they are covered in orange berry lotion and Big Mac sauce. I mean, it's so sad that the Canadians have fought back against us, seeing as so many of them want to be um, members of the 51st state. Trump rubs his lip and gives himself a Hitler-style mustache of spray lotion and Big Mac sauce. People tell me that Canadian prisoners are begging to be American, so tired of being part of such a losing country like Canada. I mean, they lost every battle they fought, and people tell me that they've never seen someone this adapted with her strategy. Even Mussolini wasn't this good. So hopefully their illegal government wants to make a deal soon, or it'll be very bad for them. Let's make America great again. Applause can be heard off screen as Frankie turns off TV. What a fucking idiot. Frankie leans back in his chair. I glanced at a printed out version of one of the local papers, where it states that Canada has just taken Seattle and has just started to take more inroads into the US. It doesn't sound like losing to me. A loud sound could be heard, as if someone slipped down the stairs leading down to our office with something heavy. What was that? Stand up at my desk as the others do the same.